The spaceship cut its main thrusters and drifted towards the looming alien spacecraft, using its small directional thrusters to inch closer to the big vessel. Dido Uda and his team gazed out the windows, trying to assess the other ship's size and structure. They knew there was no chance of finding a compatible docking port, but that didn't stop them from trying. As an engineer, Dido couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of their situation. His second, noticing the mirth, asked if he was okay. "I couldn't be better," Dido replied with a smile. Turning to Thompson, his young protege, he inquired about the grappling hooks. Thompson shook his head, replying that there was nothing to hook onto yet. Dido peered out the window, narrowing his eyes as he scanned the expansive alien vessel. "We'll have to find another way in. Perhaps a maintenance access," he stated, floating around the alien ship and adjusting the thrusters for better maneuverability. At the rear of the ship, they spotted a large, flat area with no visible openings. "Can you reach it with the grapplers, Thompson?" Dido asked, after testing the extension length. Thompson replied, "I can reach it, but there's nothing to hold on to." Suddenly Thompson exclaimed, "Wait! There's a ledge!" Dido watched as Thompson expertly used the grapplers to grab hold of the alien vessel. "Will it hold?" Dido asked. "Only one way to find out," Thompson responded, confidently maneuvering their scout ship towards the big vessel while wobbling the joystick slightly. "She is holding," he said, while maneuvering closer to the alien vessel. The operation they had spent countless hours discussing during the pre-flight meetings on Earth was finally coming to fruition. They had dubbed it the Black Knight. The object was a mysterious spaceship that had been spotted many years earlier, but only recently acknowledged by governments on Earth. Numerous attempts at communication had failed, from radio waves to Morse code with blinking lights. A previous mission even tried banging heavy objects against its hull, but nothing elicited a response, so the last option was settled upon. It was the risky plan of breaching the ship and hoping for the best. The grappling hook was firmly in place, keeping the two vessels in a fixed position towards each other, which in turn allowed the entryway to unfold from the scout to the alien ship. Nakamura, the first to bridge the two vessels, wore magnetic boots to keep him grounded, so to speak. On one hand, it was an honor to be the first human to make this journey across space. On the other hand, he couldn't shake off the feeling that he was also the most expendable member of this mission, and the outcome was uncertain. As he walked along the metal walkway, his boots clanked with each step, and he gazed out at the stars between the two ships. It was a surreal and frightening experience, unlike anything Nakamura had ever encountered before. "I'm walking the plank," he thought to himself. "Davy Jones could be waiting for me on the other side, ready to drag me into oblivion." He shuddered, but kept moving forward towards his destination. He halted a few feet from the hull of the Black Knight and observed as the bulky tool he had on tow in a rope behind now drifted past, narrowly missing his outstretched hand. He glanced at the threaded holes on the walkway designed for securing the plasma cutter to the ramp and started to bolt it in place. After carefully assessing the best spot to cut into the hull, he activated the plasma cutter, making sure to keep the large shield on its left side facing towards the ship. They had discussed this precaution earlier, knowing that any sudden release of air or debris could damage his spacesuit if there was an atmosphere in the spaceship. But with the shield in place, he felt more confident. With a long lever to operate the cutter, he didn't have to stand directly in front of it. "I'm getting ready to breach," he called out to Dido, who responded, "Proceed and good luck, Nakamura." They were fixated on the window, their eyes locked onto every movement of the young man. As he positioned himself near the alien spacecraft and prepared to use the plasma cutter, a strange clicking noise resonated from the hull. Nakamura immediately recognized it and instinctively pushed himself back from the ship. Suddenly, a door began to open, resembling a drawbridge from medieval times lowering down towards them. In a moment of panic, Dido shouted for Thompson to disengage the grapplers while frantically pressing buttons on his control panel. Just in time, the grapplers released, and the horizontal door came down inches away from Nakamura. On one of the smaller screens, they could see his heart rate skyrocketing as he pushed himself out of harm's way. "Holy crap, I almost wet myself!" he shouted. The metal plate came to a stop parallel to the hull at a 90-degree angle. "Looks like we didn't need to use the cutter after all," Thompson stated. Dido pointed towards the entrance of the other vessel. "We'll need some extra light in there." A few moments later, Nakamura returned with the plasma cutter in hand and entered the airlock in the scout vessel. They positioned strong spotlights to illuminate the opening and scanned for any potential dangers. They could see a floor that was covered in bolted-down boxes and various objects hung from the walls. Further back, they could make out a wall and what appeared to be a door. "This is looking promising," Dido remarked. "It seems like this is an airlocked hangar, but why did it open?" Nakamura chimed in. "Just before it slid open, I accidentally leaned against the hull." Thompson nodded. "It must have triggered a sensor. So what do we do next?" Diodo's response was a simple, "Now we go inside." Thompson had successfully engaged the grapplers once again and adjusted the walkway, allowing them to enter. With a line formed, they slowly made their way over the walkway, feeling the heavy thumps of their grav boots against it. The sound was unsettling, causing a shiver to run down Nakamura's spine. As they entered the interior, they took in their surroundings. Boxes lined the walls, and suits were strapped to hooks, leaving an otherwise empty space. Diodo paused and inspected one of the suits closer, murmuring to himself. "These are space suits," he noted aloud, "and they don't seem too different from ours, though they are larger and have more pronounced helmets, and they seem to be made from a light material." Thompson's voice chimed in through the comms. "There are 5 protrusions on this suit, like 2 legs, 2 arms, and a tail, like that of a dog." "Or lizard," Thompson chimed in. The group turned their attention to Nakamura, who had somehow managed to pry open one of the mysterious boxes they had discovered. But before anyone could see what was inside, he suddenly jumped back and let out a string of curses. "What the f—" he shouted, his face contorted in shock and disgust. The others rushed over to see what had provoked such a reaction, and were met with the sight of a severed head nestled inside the box. However, upon closer inspection, it became clear that it was the head of an enormous fish. Gasps of disbelief escaped their lips as they exchanged confused glances. Nakamura was the first to break the stunned silence. "That was a tuna, and by the size, I am guessing 200 kilograms. Thompson spoke next, his voice tinged with disbelief and sarcasm. "So these aliens go on a fishing trip to Earth, catch a giant tuna, and somehow carry the damn thing up here?" Nakamura closed the box, and they fixed their gaze at Dido, who spoke up again. "Well, we have learned a bit already about our hosts." He paused for dramatic effect, before continuing with a hint of nervousness in his voice. "They are roughly our size. They have 5 limbs and walk on 2 or 4, presumably." Another pause as they all processed this information. "And they eat meat." The last sentence hung in the air, sending shivers down their spines as they contemplated what that could mean for their own safety on this alien vessel. Nakamura asked about their weapons capabilities. Thompson, who also served as security, replied that they only had electric shocks batons and sipties for restraint. Nakamura murmured in disbelief, "Sipties?" Dido reassured them that they likely wouldn't need any offensive weapons. With renewed determination, they searched for a way to open the door at the back of the room. After some fumbling, they found a button on the wall. Thompson instructed Nakamura to press it while he stood ready. The door opened without any trouble, revealing an empty hallway with some reflective material on the walls that reflected their flashlights. The hallway branched left and right. Dido made the decision to move towards the front of the ship, with Thompson taking point. As they moved forward, a loud beeping noise grabbed their attention. "Hear that?" "What if that is a transmission?" Thompson said in the comm. Dido swiftly entered what seemed to be an empty control room and scanned the screens and instruments for a way to turn off the alarm. "Boss, we have to cut off that transmission," Nakamura urged, his tone filled with urgency. Dido nodded and began working quickly, his fingers testing the keyboard. "I know, but we are flying blind with these strange controls." Dido furrowed his brows. "We'll have to get creative." "Maybe it's like an intruder alert, a cosmic version of a home alarm system." The rest of the team chuckled at the idea. "Possibly," Dido replied. "Can we deactivate it?" He studied the control panels and saw buttons and levers marked with strange hieroglyphs and braille. As they wondered how to turn off the alarm, it suddenly stopped. They exchanged glances, unsure of what had just happened. Diodo looked around. "How do we control this ship?" Diodo asked, but it turned out to be unnecessary. As soon as he sat on the oddly shaped chair in the middle, the Black Knight powered up on its own. To their surprise, it had some sort of AI that spoke to them through their internal communication system in their helmets. Thompson spun around, braced for anything, when voices started speaking over their channel. The voice was slow and deliberate, saying, "Saludo estander," before pausing. "Is that Spanish?" Thompson questioned, confusion evident on all of their faces. The voice continued, saying, "Assalamu alaikum," then paused again. Dido gasped in shock and explained, "This thing has learned several of our languages." Then the speaker said, "Greetings to you," and Dido cautiously responded with, "Greetings to you as well." There was a brief moment of silence. Then the message, "Communication established," came through. Everyone held their breath, waiting for what would come next. The voice that responded was calming, yet strangely outdated. "Allow me to introduce myself," it said. "I am this vessel, and who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?" Nakamura was so surprised he burst out laughing, but Dido quickly silenced him. "I am Dido Tanaka, the lead scientist," he replied, motioning to Thompson beside him. "And I'm Edward Thompson, second in command," Thompson added hesitantly. Nakamura chimed in. "And lastly, there's me, Nakamura Uda, the electrical engineer." The AI responded, "Ah, an electrical engineer. That explains much. But before we continue our conversation, there is something we must do." It explained that it needed to send a signal to its creators, but warned that enemies could also intercept it. Dido was shocked at the mention of enemies, and the AI promised to explain more once they were safely on the ground. "On the ground?" Thompson said, questioning. "You must speak with your king before the external doors close," the AI insisted, its digital voice echoing in Dido's ear. Confused, he wondered if the AI meant their boss. Keeping his confusion hidden, Dido replied, "I will do so." His voice sounded through the earpiece. "Tanaka to scout. You need to detach from the Black Knight and follow us down to Earth." The response came quickly. "Affirmative," as he felt the hooks disengage and the platform started to move away. "Engines are ready," the AI chimed in. "Wait," Diodo said loud. "I will have to inform our people on the ground first." The AI voice hesitated a little. "Quick as can be, please." Dido radioed down to Earth while considering the odd choices of words. "I will begin descent protol," the AI calmly said. "And now you must input location for landing." The AI showed a 3-dimensional map of Earth rotating slowly. "There," Dido said, and put a finger on the map that immediately enlarged when he touched it, showing a vast expanse of ocean with a few small islands. He pointed to one of the islands, and it zoomed up to fill the whole screen. "This is our Easter Island facility. This is where we land." "Good choice," the machine answered. The three humans looked at each other, slightly bewildered by the machine intelligence. The AI confirmed the descent location and began executing the next steps. Entering Earth's atmosphere, announced the AI. Shield activated. The spacecraft pierced through Earth's atmosphere, the heat shield protecting it from the intense friction. This is going to change the course of humanity, Dido thought. He hoped that we, as humans, were ready for this revelation of intelligent aliens, and that Earth could finally join together and work as a unity for all humans. And this spaceship, dubbed the Black Knight, might just be the catalyst to do that. However, when they landed close to the barracks built on Easter Island, with the scout ship by their side, the AI started telling them a story of what had happened to the people who built it, and this revelation had to be revealed to all of Earth's leaders. If the AI was right, all of Earth could be in danger.